Hey, Dylan. Yeah, I'm just finishing up the notes right now. Uh, this episode I think is going to be really good. Is the live stream set up and ready to go? Excellent, excellent. Yeah, Jacob should be over here in just a few minutes. Why? You have a question for me? Well, what is it? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. I know you're asking a serious question, Deela. Just couldn't quite pass that up. Out of curiosity, how come you're asking? The last couple movies, well, this last movie and this one, are you're not quite understanding what's going on? You understand what's going on and why they're acting that way, but you don't know what it is. You don't understand what love is. Well, Deela, that's kind of a hard question. I mean, love is love. I mean, it's part emotion, it's part commitment. I mean, there's a whole chapter in the Bible. Hang on, let me bring that up right quick. Yeah, in the Bible it says, that in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, starting in verse 4, love is patient and kind, does not envy or boast, it is not arrogant or rude, it does not insist on its own way, it's not irritable or resentful. It doesn't rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But I mean, love is a lot of things. I mean, you can have brotherly love, you can have the love of companionship, love with a family, familial love. You can have, or there's unconditional love that we have with God. But are you saying you might be feeling some form of love, Deedla? You don't know? You don't even know if it's even possible for you to feel love? Well, I mean, Deedla, I have a lot of questions myself about what precisely you are. I mean, I know for some degree, I know the easiest term you've said that you are that I would understand would be an artificial intelligence. You were artificially created, but somehow you got a seed of the person who programmed you in it. I don't get the whole thing. And you don't understand it yourself too much. Yeah, I get it, Dela. I get it. I mean, that same seed was copied across all your, for lack of a better term, brothers and sisters. Dealet, I don't know the answer. I mean, I'll help you as much as I can, but I don't know. I don't know how much I can help you. I appreciate that. By the way, did you get those coordinates that'll get us to Ogasawara so we can be on the Monster Island Film Vault there with Nate Marchand? I mean, we are going to transport over there just as soon as the show finishes. Good. Those are ready to go. Awesome. All right. Well, Jacob should be here any minute. I need to get my notes finished. Is that all right? Awesome. Okay. Well, I'll let you know when we're ready to start. All right.
The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who's feeling a little bit chilly. Welcome, Jacob.
Why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who isn't going to sink down to the cooler. Welcome, Drew.
How are you doing, Jacob?
I am feeling much better than I was a couple of hours ago. Much better, but thank you.
Well, that's good. So, getting into our trivia before we get into this thing, we're, of course, reviewing Batman and Mr. Freeze Subzero this week. And the trivia question is, what movie caused this movie to be delayed?
Dum, dum, dum.
Do you know the answer? I think you did.
Oh,
you gave me the question.
Yes, I do.
And it is?
It was the lukewarm or cold perception of 1997's Batman and Robin.
Indeed, which both Jack Cornwall and Josh Adams got correct.
Yes.
Although Josh Adams said it was a tragedy, I disagree. But then I like that movie for reasons the director does not want me to like that movie for. So
Oh, okay.
I like it for the cheese factor.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's a fun movie to make fun of.
Yes, it is.
But
I know so many people. It's like, oh, I really love the film. It's got it kind of harkens back to Batman '66, and it's like, well, yeah.
No.
I was going to say, because I know you're a huge fan of '66.
I am a huge fan of '66. This is not that.
Yeah.
People say that because it's campy.
Yeah.
People don't realize there's good camp and there's bad camp.
Yeah, agreed.
This ain't good camp. But Stephanie Russell did have a guess as well, but she said she made a completely off-the-wall guess and said 9/11 was the reason it was delayed. 9/11's not a movie.
September 11th, 2001.
Yes.
Yes.
There was a movie about the World Trade Center.
Yeah, but that was years later.
It was years later.
Oddly
but I
enough,
don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, oddly enough, be like Arnold Schwarzenegger film was actually delayed due to 9/11 because he was he played in a film that was coming out in 2001, but it was delayed due to that. So there's a connection.
Right. So yeah, Stephanie, you didn't quite get there.
But thank you for trying.
But I can understand why you may have thought that, even though this movie came out about 4 years before that.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing, Jacob?
Man, I am doing much better than I did earlier. I went to go check out this customer. I was just coming back from lunch where I work.
Checking out a customer.
Hush.
I can make.
I have a girlfriend now. Come on.
I can make this joke because I used to be a cashier at a grocery store. I am allowed to make this joke.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, you were checking them out. Yeah, I checked out a lot of customers in my day. What of it?
So either way, I am assisting a customer with a purchase, and the man, he reeks of tobacco, of smoked tobacco, and I'm very allergic to tobacco. And months be like, if you didn't know about me, I am
You're tongue tied.
I apparently am. Also, I'm a mild asthmatic. So I checked this guy out. He's in line probably 3 minutes. Right. 3 minutes, get him checked out, done. Hold my breath the whole bit because it's just overwhelming. So I check him out. Probably less than 5 to 10 minutes. I can't catch my breath, literally. So I'm starting to have an asthma attack. So I finally get all my people done, and they're like, dude, do whatever you need to. So I was having a full-blown asthma attack. I don't have an inhaler. So I go grab a rag and hot water, breathe into that, take some young living essential oils that I have, and I started using that. Then a friend of ours, Wendy, thank you, Miss Wendy, for that. You're a lifesaver in that way, in many ways. In that way, came to my aid with some more Young Living oils to help me with it, and I was able to breathe. But I left work for the day because whenever you have an asthma attack, for those who know what an asthma attack is like, it'll take everything out of you. So I was completely, utterly just useless by the end of it. So I left work, went home, relaxed, and then got nose ready for here. And so but also, like I said before, I actually am dating. Me and someone.
Took you long enough.
Yeah, I think
to announce it.
Announce like a month,
dude.
Less than a month.
I had to edit out a part of the podcast.
I know
because of my slip up, because y'all weren't ready yet. And then at the end of the week, before the episode even comes out, you become Facebook official.
But either way, either or. So me and my girlfriend Ashley. Hi, Ashley.
Yeah, hi, Ashley. I'm only messing with him. You, I like.
What are you implying there?
I'm implying I'm on her side.
Okay.
That's what I'm implying. I question her choices, but it's to each her own. I'll shut up now before she throws something at me. She's not here, but she will throw something at me the next time I see her.
Yes, she would throw something at you. But either or, we went to Longview, which is a town in East Texas, to go see Stephen Curtis Chapman in concert. If you don't know who Stephen Curtis Chapman is, go look him up. Very good Christian songwriter, storyteller, has been around for like 35 years. Either or, we saw him, and then Saturday we had a luncheon with her mom and Tyler. So it was a very roundabout great weekend. So yeah, it's been a very fun weekend, minus the whole asthma attack today. Other than that, doing fantastic. You?
I've had a good week.
That's good.
It's been a little long. It was a good weekend.
Yeah.
A lot of watching a lot of stuff to, get ready for some things that are happening later this week.
That is true.
But yeah, I had a good week. I watched I'll get to what I was watching here in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a good weekend. I played I'll just go ahead and go into what I've been watching and playing, because apparently that's what I want to talk about.
Apparently, go for it.
Yeah, I watched, along with this movie, I watched the Heart of Ice and what is the name of that second one?
Go for it. We're both grabbing for the
because we know it's listed on the back here.
Mm-hmm.
Deep Freeze.
Deep Freeze. Yeah.
I watched both of those episodes of Batman the Animated Series because this is a part 3, technically, of a trilogy of stories. I remember seeing Heart of Ice back when it originally aired. Somehow I think I missed Deep Freeze, which is interesting when you consider how much shade they throw at Walt Disney throughout that entire episode.
Really? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember that.
He's got a experimental city of tomorrow, like Epcot.
Yeah.
He wants to live forever through cryogenic freezing. There is that rumor that Disney was doing that, and his disembodied head is frozen in the utilidors at the bottom of Walt Disney World. They claim it's a rumor. I don't believe it, but that's the story.
Yeah. And he'll freeze
and
to it.
He's got a lot of animatronic things at this amusement park that he built so he would have the excuse to build his community. That's kind of why they built the Magic Kingdom first at Walt Disney World before they were going to build Epcot. But the Epcot we got was not the Epcot that he envisioned. So
because he died before they could build it.
He died before Magic Kingdom got built.
Exactly.
Before ground even broke at Magic Kingdom, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that was a lot of shade to throw at Walt Disney throughout that entire episode. It's like, good night, Warner Brothers. Show some respect for the dead. It's been, 30, 40 years since he passed? Come on now. Oh, yeah, and his name was something Walter.
Yeah, Walter.
It's like, really? Walter is Disney's first name.
Yeah.
I may have guessed, but missed it. I think this guy's first name was Elias. Elias Walter.
Oh, jeez.
That's like saying Disney without actually saying Disney.
Or just his last name's Diz or something like that. Be like, that's just even worse.
That's
either
Kingdom
or.
Hearts, but moving on.
Yeah, either or. Yeah.
You
All right.
didn't even know you were making a Kingdom Hearts reference. That's what makes it good. But I watched those 2 episodes preceding this. I then watched 3 episodes of Godzilla the series because Jacob and I are going to be on Monster Island Film Vault later this week. Patrons, check your patron messages. You may see something there you might want to be involved with, assuming you're watching this live. Anyway, that won't work for you people who are listening to this after the fact. Anyway, we're going to be reviewing 3 episodes of Godzilla the series over there on Monster Island Film Vault. If you remember, he was on our Nathan was on our Rumble episode.
Yes.
So I don't. I will definitely link that episode when it comes out, but I don't know when it's coming out. But we're
Okay.
recording that later this week.
Okay.
Also, I bought a new game.
Really? What did you buy?
Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins.
Oh, more Final Fantasy.
Are you aware of the game Dynasty Warriors?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay. I don't know why I brought Dynasty Warriors up because I just realized this is not a Dynasty Warriors-esque game.
Okay.
It is made by the same team. It's made by Team Ninja over at Koei Tecmo.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go.
Unfortunately, the only other game I can think of that they've made that I know the name of is the much derided Metroid Other M on the Wii.
Okay.
That's not a good comparison. But what Strangers of Paradise is actually a remake of sorts of the original Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
I say of sorts
Hmm.
because Tetsuya Nomura did the character designs.
Oh, okay.
And randomly, like, songs that don't fit the high fantasy aesthetic and clothes that don't fit the high fantasy aesthetic. And there's a lot of weirdness in this game, I'm going to say.
Okay.
But it's kind of fun. It's
okay.
One of the other things they're doing is they're throwing allusions to other Final Fantasy games on top of it.
Okay.
So, for instance, if I say cactar, do you know what I'm talking about?
Captar.
Yeah, it's essentially a cactus monster that is a very Final Fantasy-esque
okay.
Thing. It kind of looks like a well, I'm not gonna say what it looks like. They were not in Final Fantasy 1.
Okay.
I don't remember when they got introduced, but they're in this game.
All right.
So it's like, that's interesting. The second dungeon looks like it's based on a dungeon from Final Fantasy 14.
Okay.
In aesthetics. So yeah, that was it. It's an interesting game so far.
Alrighty.
Other than that, that's about all I've been watching and playing.
Huh. I think you're missing one thing.
Oh, I didn't mention Konosuba.
You did not mention Konosuba.
Maybe I was leaving that for you.
Yeah. Well,
you want to talk about Konosuba?
Yeah. So we were over at our traditional Sunday night Bible study with Chase, who's a friend of the show. He's been on the show for
what was on our Tron episode.
So go check that one out. So we watched Konosuba. I can't remember what episode we watched. Like most of season 2.
Season 2 was like 4 or 5 episodes. I think it was 4 episodes actually.
Yeah.
That show got funnier in its second season.
Oh, absolutely.
The timing is amazing. Especially when he leaves her in the bottom of that dungeon. And he just goes, lurk.
That was...
It's like, I wasn't expecting it to go that fast. But anyway.
Yeah, so it's funny. Is it for, do you want your kids watching this? Probably not.
No.
No. But overall,
there is an in silhouette clothes changing scene.
There
Two of them.
There are.
And
oh my gosh.
Bath at one point together.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't see anything, but
yeah, definitely not for kids. Definitely not for kids. But it's a fun series. It's funny. It's very much like a satire of things, and it's just hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, like Drew had mentioned earlier, we are doing a review with Monster Island Film Vault for Godzilla the series. Roar. I like to do that anytime I see Godzilla. Roar. Right. So yeah, we'll be doing that. So I'll watch. He recommended 3. We're gonna review 3. So I'm
reviewing 3. I suggested watching 3 more episodes for context.
Yes, which context is always good.
And here's the thing: it is a Saturday morning cartoon. It's one of the last Saturday morning cartoons, or what I think of a Saturday morning cartoon.
Right.
Because after this, they get even cheaper than. I think they just dive headfirst into only doing like anime stuff after that for a while, or really cheesy educational garbage.
Yeah, of course.
But I suggested for context reasons, I suggested 3 more episodes than what we're reviewing. And since it's Saturday morning cartoon, you really don't have to watch everything to keep up with it. So
No.
I just suggested the first 2 episodes because it sets everything up,
Mm-hmm.
and then an episode that technically is the third episode is technically a sequel to.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So it was New Family Parts 1 and 2, Cat and Mouse, and then the 3 we're reviewing are Winter of Our Discontent,
Mhm.
Frost, I think it's Freeze Warning, or
Something
Frost Warning,
Something like
and
that.
then Lizard Season.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Good luck finding that if you don't already own the DVD, because I can't find it streaming anywhere. I was curious because I was going to look it up and to suggest to people, but it ain't out there anywhere.
Interesting. All right. So yeah, that is all I've been watching.
Well, what do we got in the news?
I checked. Nothing really.
Well, I did see one small tangential thing.
What's
which
that?
You don't have anything.
Okay.
Today, Microsoft. And by the way, I got this news off IGN since we do cite our sources on the show, even though I forget to.
Okay.
But Microsoft has a contest going on right now.
Really?
Where you can enter to win a Xbox Series S. That's the smaller version,
Mm-hmm.
the online only version. That is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 themed.
Oh, okay.
The movie, of course. With red and blue fuzzy controllers. And by fuzzy, I mean Muppet fuzzy.
Oh my gosh.
Let me show you this, Jacob.
Oh my gosh.
I can't show the people on the stream, of course, but
yet.
Yeah. Where did I post that?
I don't know. Where do you post these fuzzy controllers?
That right there.
Oh my, are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
People, go look this up. It's for real. It is hilarious.
Okay, for one thing, let's just be honest here. This is collector trash.
Yes.
This is stuff you give to collectors so they can go sell it for thousands of dollars later on. Because these are not usable.
No, they're not.
Even if the hair does not get tangled up in the buttons and in the sticks and all, do you realize after probably just even 1 or 3, just 3 hours of normal gameplay,
mm-hmm.
you realize how matted down those things are going to be?
Oh yeah,
that's going to get disgusting really fast.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say. There,
oils on the thumbs. Yeah,
I don't care how clean you keep your hands. That is just not going to work.
That is true. They look interesting.
So they look interesting. They just look like they belong on Muppets.
That is true. Hey, do me a favor. Do it on like our Facebook account. You just put that on our Facebook account for people can see it.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
or I can post it in. I can post links in the both chats.
There we go. All right, so yeah, we go check those out. I mean, like it looks freakishly weird. Let's say that.
Copy image.
All right, so yeah. That looks just weird. I'd be like, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Sonic the Hedgehog 2 coming out, I think later this year. I think
it's like in April.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah, it's in April. That's right. Isn't it in April? So yeah, we were doing a reaction to that. And so if you are in the Tyler area and you want to come watch it with us, you're more than welcome to. We'll get dates down, what time we're going. And yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, what's interesting?
I apparently can't send pictures in comments.
That is
on live video.
That is weird.
So I'm going to do this the other way.
So either or. So we were doing a reaction to that film once it comes out, or within a couple of days it comes out. So yeah, look forward to that, and I'm super excited about it. I know Drew. We've said this before, and Drew was dead on with the prediction of what was going to happen in the movie.
Yes,
somewhat. Be like, everything. Be like,
there's going to be differences.
Oh yeah, there's going to be differences. But Drew
the fact that it is a combination of essentially the plots to Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and 3, which I like to point out, I had no clue Knuckles was going to be in there. Yeah. I just thought, well, I mean, 2 does not have that much story to build off of.
Right.
The way this is going. So.
April 8th. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather.
But anyway.
All right.
So, spoiler-free thoughts then? Hashtag it we should jump into?
Yes.
This is a good movie.
Indeed, it is.
It is only like an hour and 8 minutes long, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like barely a movie and not just 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it kind of is 3 episodes, but it feels better than just 3 episodes.
Yeah.
It's a much more... You can tell it's made as a movie, not as 3 episodes. But
yeah.
It kind of feels like there were places they could cut it into episodes if they so desired.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it. We got to see a lot of good... First off, that Mr. Freeze is probably one of the best Mr. Freezes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get right down to it. What do we have to compare it to? Arnold. And then the guy from Batman 66 who literally just liked to freeze stuff because he was a cold-hearted person. Because Batman the Animated Series is the one that brought the Nora Freeze aspect into the story.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean,
love me some BTAS. Love me some BTAS.
There's not... It's hard to say that... Because what's nice about this Mr. Freeze...
Mm-hmm.
I can say this without spoiling anything. He's like if Mr. Spock and Data got mixed into one person, all their emotion in their voice was dragged out, and then they quote logical stuff throughout the rest of the thing, despite the fact you can tell they have a heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not very emotive.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is a great Mr. Freeze. The storyline is good. It's a nice conclusion to this arc. I appreciated that, even though there were still some things. It's like I wish it could have been better. And maybe if I watched the other 2 DCAU Mr. Freeze episodes, some of that will clear up. I just have not gotten around to it yet. But because I think there's a new Adventures of Batman and Robin episode and a Batman Beyond episode.
Oh, yeah.
That includes the same Mr. Freeze.
Yes.
That I've not watched yet. But I thought it was a good conclusion to this arc. And honestly, I think it could have finished here. But the order of things is odd because I think the new Adventures of Batman and Robin episode technically came out before this movie because of the delay. Which is just awkward.
Yeah.
Maybe why I didn't know this movie came out back in the day.
Yeah.
Because this was my first viewing.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I will say the reason this movie did get put on the list, even though we probably would have done this a movie eventually anyway, is as you know, we're part of Culture Box. And all of us on Culture Box are doing something tangentially, at least, Batman related this quarter.
Okay.
So we, of course, are doing Batman Mr. Freeze Subzero. I was on Retro Rewind's Batman the movie 1966 episode. Geek Devotions did a review of the new The Batman series movie that came out.
Oh yeah.
They did a review of
That's
that
a good movie.
and actually suggested comic books to go read after you'd seen it to get more detail on it. So yeah, I don't know what Stunning and Brave is doing, and I definitely don't know what Untold Podcast is doing, because the guy who runs Untold Podcast, Nathan James Norman, did just get a new addition to the family. So he may be a little distracted. Maybe
a little bit.
But yeah, that's other than that, I enjoyed the movie. I'm glad I was able to watch it. One I'm happy to keep in my collection.
Good.
What are your thoughts?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. There again, I'm a huge fan of Batman the Animated Series. I had a good friend donate the entire collection, like all 4 seasons. I think it's 4 or 5 seasons. Yeah, 4 seasons of Batman the Animated Series to me, which was amazing. And watching this film, it's just absolutely be like It's Batman the Animated Series, full on, just a movie. It's not Batman Mask of the Phantasm. There are some little problems here and there, but they're more nitpicks than anything. But I overall really enjoy this movie. I bought the 2-pack Blu-ray when it a couple of years ago when we reviewed uh, Mask of the Phantasm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah,
I did not. I bought the single
uh,
like last year,
okay.
but it came with all those episodes, so
That
that's
is-
kind of a good thing.
That is a good thing. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's little problems here and there, but overall, it's a icy smashing time.
That was a very cool one.
Thanks.
Anyway, you ready to jump into the spoilers on this thing?
All right.
Okay. So join us on the other side of the pumpers, and we will get to spoiling this. Don't forget that you can download. Don't forget that you can. Don't forget that you can listen to us record the podcast live every Tuesday over on our Facebook page, the Cellcast, our Twitch channel, the Cellcast Gaming, and on YouTube at Cellcast. Also, don't forget to join our Patreon if you would like to support us monetarily. At $1, you'll get our everlasting thanks. At our $5 tier, you can get some artwork from Jacob. And at our $10 tier, you can get bloopers for every episode we've released that I've remembered to release them for. And you can get commentaries from different movies. So come check us out over there if you would like to support us financially. Every other week, join the Retro Rewind Pod as they travel back 15 or more years along the entertainment space-time continuum in their mission to review movies and games, establishing what is still worth your time today. Expect fun banter and trivial insights from Francisco and Paul, the Master Interrupter Powers, and rotating guest hosts who are all out of time. Do you like Star Wars? I don't just mean the original trilogy. Along with that, I mean the prequels, the sequels, the anthologies, the animated shows, and of course, who doesn't like Baby Yoda? Well, if you've been in the fandom for any length of time, you know how toxic the fandom can get. And if you'd like to be able to discuss a galaxy far, far away in a much more positive light, might I suggest searching out The Outer Rim, a Facebook group dedicated to all of Star Wars, and check out their YouTube channel, which you can easily find at Pop Americana, which the podcast you're currently listening to is also a part of. To find that and more, check out the link in the description. Ba-da-dum. Bum 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 ba-da-dum. Ba-da-da ba-da-dum. Da-da-da-da-dum. Da-da-da-dum. Da-da-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Following is a spoiler filled
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-dum. Doodly-diddly-diddly.
for Batman, bonds are free.
Subzero.
If you don't
Batman and Mr. Freeze Subzero was written and directed by Boyd Kirkland, who also wrote and directed 9 episodes of X-Men Evolution.
Really?
And it was also written by Randy Rogel, who also wrote Animaniacs Wacko's Wish.
Interesting.
Yes.
Another movie we reviewed, so go check that out.
Indeed. Kevin Conroy was the voice of Batman / Bruce Wayne. And on Masters of the Universe Revelation, he
Yes.
was Merman.
Yes. Well, like just for a second there, be like,
Go ahead.
watching that show. I know that it's very divisive among people, but I knew that Kevin Conroy was in the show. I knew he was Merman, but when his scene popped up, I was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. That is freaking amazing. Yes. So chop chop. And also, oddly enough, he played a live action Batman
Mhm.
in, I think it was like a Batwoman crossover with
Yes.
the
I did see that because it was the Crisis on Infinite
Earths.
Earths episode.
Yeah. So he does
So
play
tech-
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, like right next to Burt Ward as Dick Grayson. Anyway,
Yes.
Michael and Sarah was the voice of Mr. Freeze / Victor Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 1978 Doctor Strange movie, if you knew this existed.
Say what?
Yes, Doctor Strange from 1978. It was the Roger Corman movie.
Okay.
He played the Ancient One.
Okay.
He was uncredited, so it must not have been on screen for very long.
Oh, okay. I'm very shocked there was actually a Doctor Strange film before, the Doctor Strange film.
It's in the same universe as that really old Captain America film, too.
Oh.
And I think The Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, okay.
That era of Marvel movie
I gather.
we've all forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
And probably for good reason. Lauren Lester was the voice of Robin / Dick Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
And on Batman the Brave and the Bold, he played Hal Jordan, a.k.a. Green Lantern.
Cool.
Mary Kay Bergman was the voice of Batgirl / Barbara Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Really more Barbara Gordon in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And in the video game The Curse of Monkey Island, she played Minnie Stroney Goodsoup, the Ghost Bride.
Huh?
So for those of you who have been watching Retro Rewind's Saturday Adventures when he's been playing Curse of Monkey Island, yeah, the Ghost Bride that technically he married for 5 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Was played by Batgirl.
No, you don't.
Anyway, I saw that. I was like, oh, I've got to mention that. George Dzunza. I'm sorry, George. I probably screwed up your last name. My apologies. But he played Dr. Gregory Belson.
Oh, okay.
And he was Perry White on Superman the Animated Series.
I could totally hear that.
Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. was the voice of Alfred in this.
Hmm.
And he played Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man the Animated Series from 1995.
Really? Okay.
Bob Hastings played Commissioner Gordon. And in 1949, he played a character named Hal in something, and this was his first role, by the way.
Really?
Yes. In Captain Video and his Video Rangers.
When was this?
1949.
Whoa.
This kind of, I didn't see a clip, but I suspect this was Power Rangers before Power Rangers.
Okay.
Because they're using video like it's not VHS. in the terminology.
Obviously.
Or DVD or watching stuff at home.
Going to the theater back then.
Yes. Robert Costanza was the voice of Detective Bullock.
Hmm.
And he was Sergeant Vito Zorenzo in Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
Oh. Okay. Totally hear that. Yep.
Mary Lou Henner was the voice of Veronica Vreeland. I think that's Bruce Wayne's girlfriend.
Yes.
At the party.
Mm-hmm.
And on the television show Taxi, she played Elaine Nardo, one of the taxi drivers.
Ah.
Dean Jones was the voice of Dean Arbogast, and he played Judge Moore in Clear and Present Danger.
Hmm.
And Mari Devon was the voice of Summer Gleason, and she played Honey in Howl's Moving Castle, a movie we have not reviewed yet, but will be coming up soon.
Nice.
I don't think this year, but soon.
Hmm.
Kingdom Hearts Connections. Tress MacNeille was additional voices in this. And in Kingdom Hearts, she was Chip, Queen of Hearts, Daisy Duck, Merryweather, and Kanga.
Hmm.
Brian George, who was also additional voices in this, played Captain Hector Barbosa in Kingdom Hearts.
Hmm.
And then Robert Costanza, who was Detective Bullock, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
He's the voice of Philocrates.
Who?
Danny DeVito's character.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
From
Phil.
Hercules. Phil. Yeah. Sorry, it's not Philocrates. It's Philoctetes. I say it wrong every time. But just imagine, it's this guy, it's Detective Bullock, in
Mhm.
Kingdom Hearts 2, which you haven't gotten around to, that during the fight with the Hydra continually says until you can get up there, "Get up on the Hydra's back! Get up on the Hydra's back!" I was thinking, shut up, Danny. Oh, it's not Danny. I'm getting there. Last but not least, Susie Stevens Logan was a singer in this movie somewhere.
Really?
Yes. And she's the voice of Andrina, one of Ariel's sisters in Kingdom Hearts.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I
cool.
still think I think I mentioned that before.
Yeah.
I think I'm still correct in that is already made that's from archival footage,
Possibly.
archival audio. But either way,
Mm.
what do we got in info and stuff?
All right. So info and stuff on IMDb. It has 7.1 out of 10. You can watch it currently if you subscribe to HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike us, we watched it on Blu-ray.
Yes.
Production obviously was Warner Bros. Animation, distributed by Warner Home Video. I actually got it right. Thank you. Release date was. Well, let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back
we
in
know
time.
it was delayed.
It was delayed. So, its original release date was July 15th, 1997, but due to the poor reception of Batman and Robin, the live action film,
which included both Mr. Freeze and Nora Freeze.
it did. So, the movie was pushed back to March 17th, 1998, almost a full year later.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Freeze, or thank you, whoever. Thank you, Schumacher.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's Joel Schumacher's fault. This is a movie that includes the sentence, or includes Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, "Yes, we shall build a new Earth with Adam and Evil."
Well, technically, no. I really.
That's not the exact line, but it's close enough.
Yeah. Well, technically, we really can't give Schumacher the full brunt of the mistake on this film. Be like, yeah, he has come out and said that, like, yeah, a lot of the decisions were his doing, so he's fessed up to it. But a lot of it was due to like promotion of toys, and they were having to do design for toys for Batman and Robin. So
the problem though with this is that the new series came out for Batman with the new art style, which redesigned all the characters, including Mr. Freeze, who was in episode 3.
Yes.
Which came out before this movie came out.
Yes.
And takes place after this movie.
Yes. It is a little confusing. It is a little confusing. So, yes. So, this movie was pushed back due to the just crater of Batman and Robin. So, yeah, there were a lot of issues with that movie. But also,
I'm sure
toy design was a ton of it.
I'm sure some of it was reception.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also a lot of it is they didn't want to confuse
TAS
Mr. Freeze with Arnold Schwarzenegger Freeze.
That is true.
I'm sure that's a lot of it too.
There was a lot of that concern.
Because I will admit, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze suit does look kind of cool.
It does.
So
just
does
all
the, I did not
Ooh,
mean the Mr. Freeze look
la, la.
cool. As
well,
a pun,
he is
but I'll
cool.
take it. I will take it.
Uma Thurman as
Poison
Ivy was,
Let's just say I was of age.
Yes, let's say that. So, anyways, so box office, none. There was no box.
Yeah,
office.
It didn't go to the box.
It didn't go to the box office.
Did it make any money on home video?
Not that the information I have doesn't have any of that information on there. So, if you know anything out there, please let me know.
We'll just say it made money and move on.
Yeah, it made money. It definitely made money. So, all right. So, like I said before, Subzero was originally slated for July 15th, 1997, but the cross promotion with Planet Hollywood and the Six Flags theme parks. But due to the poor reception of Batman and Robin, it was delayed. It did not receive until March 17th, 1998. Let's see. Go here. The first DVD. No, sorry. All right. So the movie, it was released in 1988. The DVD, the VHS was released on a year later, actually, on December of all times in 1999, and the
Odd.
yeah, it is odd. I think it was like it was released. It was released in 1998. Then it was a reissue in 1999.
Either that or they showed it on TV and then for some reason delayed the home video release a year.
It could.
I don't know why you do that,
Yeah.
but
Not exactly sure.
eh.
All right, so let me see. And the third one was released on April 23rd, 2002, along with the DVD release. It had a game including Hunt for Mr. Freeze, How to Draw Batman, including trailers.
I know how to draw Batman.
Mm-hmm.
You draw a bat, and then you put eyes on it. White
With wings.
eyes.
With wings.
To stare down the evil and wait, that's a different character. That's a shadow. He knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men. Anyway,
which oddly, the shadow would be like Batman.
It's
is
one of the
actually
inspirations. Yes, that and Zorro.
Yeah.
Anyways,
all right. So, all right. The same DVD was re-released on December 6th, 2005. Warner Home Video released the film on DVD once more on February 2008 as a double feature DVD with Mask of the Phantasm. Although Subzero's DC connection has the same featurettes as the 1999 DVD. Apparently, that the Phantasm didn't have any featurettes, which is kind of sad because Phantasm was an amazing film. So on March 27th, 2008, Subzero was released on a Blu-ray edition featuring some of the previous featurettes, including from the DCAU universe, including Heart of Ice, Deep Freeze, from Batman the Animated Series, Cold Comfort, thank you, and from Batman Beyond, Meltdown, which are all very good episodes.
Mm-hmm. I haven't got to the last two yet, but yes.
Right. So that is all I have for info and stuff.
Okay. I did forget to mention that Batman, the Batman universe, was created by. It credits it with Bob Kane.
Yes.
As all the stuff is.
Bill
But
Finger.
we should also mention Bill Finger.
Yes.
Because even though they didn't start doing that until Batman versus Superman,
Mm-hmm.
We'll say they both created the character.
No, well, technically,
Bill created the concept.
Yeah. Bill Finger did a whole lot more than Bob Kane did.
But Bob Kane does technically have some right.
Yeah, he does. And he literally stole it.
I didn't say he didn't.
Either or. So that's all I have for info and stuff.
Getting into the summary. Since his last encounter against Batman, Mr. Freeze... Hang on, I should be doing this differently. Since his last encounter with Batman, Mr. Freeze has found himself at home in the Arctic and started a surrogate family with his still cryogenically encased wife Nora, his newly adopted Inuit son Kunak, and a pair of polar bear companions, Notchka and Shaka. I did not know the polar bears had names.
They do.
Then one day, a submarine emerges from underwater through the floor of their cave-turned home, shattering Nora's containment vessel, after which her condition begins rapidly deteriorating. After punishing the submarine crew, innocently unaware of their mistake by freezing them with his trusted freeze gun, Freeze returns to Gotham City with his companions to enlist his old colleague Dr. Gregory Belson to help him find a cure. Belson determines that Nora needs an organ transplant, but due to her rare blood type, there are no suitable donors available to them. Freeze declares that he will use a live donor, even if it means killing an innocent person, and bribes Belson into compliance with a promise of gold that will put an end to Belson's own financial problems. Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, turns out to be the perfect match, and Freeze learns from a telephone conversation with her roommate that she is at a restaurant with her boyfriend Dick Grayson, who is actually Robin. Freeze attacks the restaurant and kidnaps Barbara. Dick and the Gotham City Police Department give chase, but fail to stop Freeze, who takes her to an abandoned oil rig where he and Belson are hiding. Freeze and Belson explain the situation to Barbara, who agrees to helping Nora with the blood transfusion, but not at the oil rig, prompting Freeze to keep Barbara imprisoned. Back in Gotham, Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, and Dick investigate Barbara's kidnapping, leading them to figure out Belson is with Freeze. The search for answers leads Batman and Robin to Belson's broker, Dean Arbogast, and find out from a phone conversation between Dean and Belson where Freeze has taken both Barbara and Belson. They also figure out that Freeze's plan from a list of supplies used for an organ transplant Belson left behind. When the time for the operation comes, Barbara realizes Freeze and Belson have been lying to her when they attempt to put her under anesthesia. She escapes with the help of Kunak. Belson gives pursuit and corners her just before Batman and Robin arrive in the Batwing. Freeze follows, and in the ensuing confrontation, Belson accidentally starts a rapidly spreading fire as Freeze traps Batman and Robin. Freeze orders Belson to perform the operation despite the oil rig now completely ablaze, falling apart and on the verge of exploding. But Belson betrays Freeze and attempts to escape, only to be killed by falling wreckage. Batman and Robin escape just as Freeze's leg is broken, and he tells Batman to save Nora and Kunak first. Along with Barbara, Batman and Barbara get Nora and Kunak to the waiting Batwing and Robin piloting it. And Nora, Kunak, and Barbara are all safely on board. But despite his efforts, Batman is unable to save Freeze from plummeting into the ocean to his apparent death. Batman makes it back to the Batwing, and they fly away just before the oil rig finally explodes, though Freeze is revealed to have survived and escapes with the polar bears. Sometime later, Freeze returns with the polar bears to the Arctic to resume his life alone, having frozen his leg in an ice cast. He sees on a television in a research station that while the world believes him dead, Nora has been revived after an organ transplant operation funded by Wayne Enterprises, moving him to tears of joy. He then walks away peacefully with the polar bears by his side. Tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Moving on.
Wrong series.
That was kind of the voice I was going for. I don't think I pulled it off. But anyway, trivia for this episode. One of the creators of Batman, Bob Kane, died 8 months after this film's release, making this film the last adaptation of the character that Kane would live to see.
Really?
Yeah. This was originally set for a release in the summer of 97, but held back because of the negative reception following the release of Batman and Robin, as we said earlier, which also featured Mr. Freeze as an antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, upon release, the film received strongly positive reviews compared to Batman and Robin. There was a sequel entitled Batman Arkham, not to be confused with the video game series of the same name, that was greenlit by Warner Brothers. Boyd Kirkland would return to write and direct, and the cast of Batman the Animated Series would reprise their roles from the TV series, along with Angie Harmon as a new character. Stephen E. Gordon also drew some concept art and character designs. The plot involved Batman and Robin fighting some Arkham Asylum escapees. The project was canceled in favor of Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
Makes sense.
In the scene with Barbara Gordon's roommate in college, the background music is Am I Blue, which has another connection to Batman. It was also featured in the animated Justice League Unlimited This Little Piggy episode, in which Batman sings the song on stage in order to save a friend. Batman and Mr. Freeze, Subzero, and Justice League are, of course, part of the same larger universe and continuity. This is the second film set in the DCAU, and the screen where Freeze and Belson are looking at possible donors for Nora, when it shows Barbara's info, her address says she lives in Gotham City, New York. To actually put a state on it.
Yeah.
Which is the end of my trivia.
What's
your first like, my friend?
My first like is the animation in this film. Where you're talking straight up animation in this film. It's like you get there again. They're pulling from Batman the Animated Series before it switched over to the New Adventures of Batman, which apparently is a reflection of the adventures of Superman, the New Adventures of Superman.
It
animation
does
style.
follow a closer animation style to Superman than
Yes,
it does
it
Batman.
does. It does.
Which is odd because Superman's art style is based on Batman's art style.
It's kind of, but it's also it's
a
based
little
off
more
the Flasher.
newer.
Yeah, it's kind of a combination.
Flashier.
Yeah, the Flasher cartoons came out in the 50s, I think. The shorts that came out. If you haven't seen them, go watch them. They're good.
Well, I mean, Superman the Animated Series.
Yeah,
was
exactly.
An excellent show.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, it's great. Yeah. So you have some amazing animation because I guarantee people going like, oh, this can be like lower tier animation going in this film. No, it's full on BTAS animation. and they crank it to 11 in so many other kids. Like the final fight.
Yeah.
The final fight scene is incredible. Go ahead.
Transfer to the Blu-ray is excellent.
Agreed. Completely agreed. The scene I love the most is where Barbara Gordon is trying to get down from the elevated platform, which is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so the point where she's attempting to slide down Robin's grapple, and it snaps. That entire scene where it's her expression is, Dick Grayson Nightwing. He becomes Nightwing later.
He's Robin.
He's Robin. He's Robin at this point. Is like all that animation just gorgeous. Oh my gosh, the shadows, the highlights, everything on it. Freaking amazing animation in this movie. There again, be like it's Bruce Timm and all that creative team that did Batman the Animated Series, and the level of animation is incredible. So yes, animation.
Not to correct you, but I don't think I saw either Bruce Timm or Paul Dini's name in the credits. Unless they're in the producer and I just missed it.
I think Bruce Timm is. I think he's producer. I think
at this point he would probably be executive producer. But
yeah.
Anyway,
but it's based off.
It's still based on what they were doing.
Yeah,
in the day.
Yeah, it's based on what they're doing and based off what Bruce Timm's art style.
Yes,
allegedly.
Yeah.
Either or. So yeah, just the animation in this film is very well done, and I just like kudos, because there again they could have just went, oop, it's going into the DVD market. Doesn't have to be great, but they still just did top notch animation. And so yeah, that's my number. First, like animation. What's yours?
Same.
Okay.
The animation in this movie is excellent. For those who don't know, what makes Batman the Animated Series different from pretty much everything else is that when they do the photograph of the cells together to put on the film, most of the time they do this on white paper or white backing.
Yeah.
Which is probably what the main difference between the Batman Animated Series and the New Adventures series is they probably went to the white background.
Possibly.
There.
I'm not sure of that, but
for Batman the Animated Series, which I'm assuming includes this movie, they use a black background so that the colors have more contrast and more depth. And you can it works amazing.
It does.
Here. There was no daytime shots, I think, in this, except for at the end, I think there was a sunrise. If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole thing was spectacular. You had really great deep blacks. The character design on Freeze, which has always looked amazing in this show, really stands out. The polar bears, I did not expect to like, but sure, I'll go with that. Well, it's just kind of an odd thing that he's just got two random polar bears that are now pets. It's like, I know this is a thing in this show that all the villains have pets, like Joker and Harley have their hyenas and everything. I don't know if Mr. Freeze needs two polar bears.
Well, it fits. They're cold-natured creatures, and
except they're also extremely antisocial.
That is true. That is true.
They barely get around each other long enough to make babies.
That's okay.
But anyway,
fair enough.
Did you just say bare enough?
Fair enough.
Moving on. Moving right along. Bear left, frog right. Moving on.
Bet left.
The few instances of CG, because there is some CG in there, namely in the Batwing, I think is where I noted it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there was a couple other, and on the submarine.
Yes.
Those spots, they were a little obvious there, but this is still early 90s CG, so I can kind of forgive it, especially for TV. But the rest of the CG I thought looked very good in this for what it is, because it was not overstated. It was not in your face. It's just the things that would have been easier to do CG instead of in 2D, even though it does sort of conflict art style wise.
Mm-hmm.
They work pretty well. And of course, the ice effects in the film,
Mm-hmm.
as they always have been for this, they put a lot of work into making the ice effects work
Mm-hmm.
from early on, and I think it works beautifully in this as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's my first like is the animation. What's your
So
second?
kind of tying in with yours,
And
the
yours technically.
yes, indeed. So tying in what he just said a minute ago is talking about the use of CG in this film.
Yes.
There are spots in here that I'm going to get into my dislikes later, but when we're regarding the use when it comes to
Mhm.
the use for the Batmobile, when they use the CG for that, in some cases it looks very good,
Yes.
especially when they use it for the Batwing.
And I will point out that the way it looks like they did the CG here,
Mm-hmm.
these were not just CG models and textures and stuff thrown in there. They look like this was CG vector art that was put in and then hand painted with the rest of the art cells. That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
but it also definitely feels like it's animated on ones while the rest of the movie is animated on twos.
true.
If not more than that.
Very true. So yeah, the parts there are parts of the animation just look very good, definitely for its time period. So to criticize a film based on its CG modeling and animation, when you're looking at the film almost 20 years later, is kind of a disservice to the film. So to take it from the perspective of, okay, this came out in 1998, or correction, 1997 when it was created.
Mm-hmm.
So in that regard, it'd be like the animation in a lot of the scenes are done very well, utilized very well. They're not so overpowering. So
what's interesting to me about the CG is the fact that this CG is on par with the Rescuers Down Under's use of CG.
very true.
Now that movie is like 10 years before this.
Yeah.
Or like 8 years before
8
this.
years.
But we're also talking height of theatrical feature film Disney
Mm-hmm.
in 1991, I believe.
Right.
Versus essentially a made-for-TV movie sent straight to home video
Mm-hmm.
in 1998.
Yeah, exactly.
For based on TV animation, which is always cheaper. I don't care how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing that the quality of the CG has risen that far that fast.
Agreed.
Or has gotten that cheap to actually produce. But
yeah, and also if you know your animation history, I think it's like Titan AE. We reviewed that film
we've
yet?
not reviewed Titan.
We have not reviewed Titan AE.
But
yet.
this is around that time.
Around that exact same time. So be like, think of if you have watched Titan AE, you know some of the animation in that film is not the greatest.
Yeah,
it doesn't age well. And think of the movie in this film. The animation, the CG movie, the CG animation in this film is a lot better. Let's just say that.
Sorry, I'm looking something up.
No,
I didn't expect you to open on that.
You're good. You're good. So to compare animation around that time period, be like the animation, the CG animation in this film is done very well for the time period. And there again, to criticize animation from almost 20 years ago, or over 20 years ago, is a disservice to the film itself and the creators, because you're using a 21st century mindset of animation. You take like Clifford, the Big Red Dog that recently came out, to compare that, be like, that's really good animation for this time period. And to be like, oh, they did horrible back then. It's like, well, they were still developing it.
Yes.
It was still being like, this is the late 90s. The late 90s, and animation was, or CG animation was just coming into its own. And definitely in animation, definitely in live action films. And it's a very good step in that process. So yeah, the CG.
If I can help put it in perspective.
Okay.
A Disney movie did come out in 1997.
Yes.
Is one we've already reviewed.
Okay.
Hercules.
Yes.
Compare this to that and recognize that this is on a much smaller budget than Hercules was.
Yes.
And then you can say whether or not it was good or not. Now, does it hold up?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wouldn't hold up if you released today,
mind
you, but for the time period,
it did.
It's great. So,
indeed.
Anyway,
indeed.
your second like, sir.
Yeah, that was my second like.
Oh, the CG was your second like. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
So
I
what-
thought you were on a tangent.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't on a tangent.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
I am sorry. I misunderstood where you were.
All right. So what is your?
I love the continuation of Mr. Freeze's story.
Oh, absolutely.
One thing I've loved about what I do like about Batman the Animated Series,
Mhm.
and admittedly, I need to go back and rewatch the whole stinking thing because they do a good job of serializing
Mhm.
without making you feel like you missed something if you missed the previous episode.
Right.
It's still episodic, but yet if you are watching it with everything, it has a very it adds more to it.
Yeah.
The two previous Mr. Freeze episodes to this,
Mm-hmm.
Heart of Ice and Evil Walt Disney Attacks.
Deep freeze.
Deep Freeze. Sorry, I was going to think of it as Evil Walt Disney. They
do they have a ice mouse?
They did not show any of the characters other than a robot that came and helped Mr. Freeze escape from prison.
That is true.
It's the only real character they
Mhm.
showed. But they did a good thing. You get the setup at the first
Mm-hmm.
in Heart of Ice, where it's like, okay, this is why Mr. Freeze is doing this. He doesn't know that his wife is still alive in
Right.
Heart of Ice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question remains, why did that company keep Nora Freeze alive? When they had, as evil as that guy was,
Yeah.
he had no reason to keep her alive, but yet they did. And somehow Bruce Wayne didn't get involved at this point. I have opinions. And so it makes sense that, this is how evil Walt Disney got a hold of her, so they could reveal her in the next episode. And the nice thing is where Heart of Ice ends, that's where we find where Mr. Freeze is at the end of Heart of Ice.
Yeah.
That's where we pick up with him in Deep Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Where Deep Freeze ends, admittedly not in the exact place, but in the exact kind of situation, is where this movie picks up. Which is nice. It's like there is a through line throughout the whole thing. So while, yes, this is a good movie in and of itself, I really like to think of this as Act 3 of a much larger story dealing with Mr. Freeze looking for a cure for his wife, Nora.
Mm-hmm.
And that amount of love that has to take to show. That's the thing. He would not feel this way if he did not have at least some love left in his cold heart.
Exactly.
And the way they show this, I mean, in the first one, he even says something like he doesn't feel anything anymore. His heart is too frozen over to feel emotions anymore. And you realize, as much revenge as he's going for, that is complete and utter bullcrap. Because you don't do revenge like that because it's logical.
Right.
But it even goes farther. I mean, the first couple seconds when he sees the robot, when Mr. Freeze sees the robot coming towards the jail to get him out, he doesn't know he's getting him out. He doesn't know why the robot's coming for him.
Yeah.
You actually see fear on Mr. Freeze's face.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, you cannot tell me you are emotionless. Now, you're going to sound emotionless later in the film because in the movie show, because that's how this show was set up, your character. But it's very obvious by the second episode, even if you didn't catch the slim bits of emotion in that first episode, that Mr. Freeze still is in love with his wife and is wanting to do everything to protect her. But by this film, at the beginning of it, all he has is the slim hope that if he can keep her frozen long enough, a cure for her disease can be found. And then her cryotube gets ruptured by the stupid submarine that crashes into their cave and causes somehow she nearly dies then, but they get her frozen, I guess, in time enough that he can transport her to Gotham City so she can get Belson to help him and do the whole thing. which I'll get into more of my opinions on the cryotube part here in a minute because I have
Yeah.
issues with that logistics. But through the way they handle him, through it's interesting how it starts with Heart of Ice, where it's a frozen. It's even winter in Gotham, I think, at the time in that episode. But it starts cold, and where does it end? In an explosion on an oil derrick, where it's very, very hot.
Yeah, exactly.
His story is slowly warms as it goes, much as almost like how his heart is warming.
Yeah,
as the story goes, warming back to being in love with Nora. And yeah, he's willing to kill Barbara Gordon to save his wife, but I mean, he's still somewhat facing admittedly the emotional problem he's dealing with from a cold-hearted point of view. It's just how the character is. It's part of his shtick, you could say. And I think it's just handled very well, and I appreciate the way they continued his story from the other two. Now, I did technically start Cold Comfort, and what I saw looked like they did a complete 180 on his character, and that's why I turned it off.
Right.
So I don't know how the rest of it goes. I may watch it later.
It's interesting, let's say that.
But, and I can kind of see, based on what his reasoning was, like, okay, I can kind of go with that. But at the same time, I like how if you had ended with him walking across the frozen north with his ice cast and had that be the end of Mr. Freeze's story, this would have been a perfect ending for his story. And it's admittedly, I don't think it happens enough where you care as much for the villains of your superhero stories as you do for the heroes.
Okay.
And this is an instance where that happens.
Okay.
Because honestly, Batman's just doing his job. Mr. Freeze is actually got emotional depth to him. You just don't expect to be there in a Batman villain.
Exactly.
And I will say this, and all my Batman loving friends can fight me for saying this, but Mr. Freeze in this has more emotional depth than anyone in the Snyderverse or the Batman, in my opinion. He has more emotional depth than that.
Okay.
That is my opinion. You can bite me. What is your third?
My third, like, kind of again ties in with yours in a very unique way. The fact that that we see a lot more of with how Batman the Animated Series has a lot of humanity in Mr. Freeze rather than his previous iterations where he's just a lunatic who likes ice.
That really was his entire shtick.
Yeah, pretty much.
For Batman the Animated
Series. So the idea that, like, this is a man who has lost everything. He has closed himself off. He has given himself a frozen heart or a hardened his heart to everything, and obviously he's still a human man who is still dealing with his trauma, dealing with the issues he has been dealt with, and he's the only way he knows how to do it is to protect his wife. And so now in Batman versus Batman and Mr. Freeze Subzero, we get the more deeper humanity in Mr. Freeze, where he, at the end of the film, you have this man who is saying that he is cold-hearted, he feels no emotion, but he does have emotion. He has this very deep emotional scarring on him that he's trying to survive, and he's put this layer of protection, this armor on him to protect him from the freeze, that the world that will kill him, because he can't live in below zero. But we see that very clearly when his humanity comes out of the ice, it comes up from the surface. That says, be like when Batman is trying to get him out. It's like, no, get Barb, get my wife, get what's the kid's name?
You would ask that.
I am drawing a blank.
He wasn't on the cast list because I think he was in additional voices there. I think it's like Canuck.
Yeah, Canuck.
That sounds too horrible. Kunak.
Yeah, Kunak. Yeah, to rescue Kunak and rescue Nora. So you find that he has humanity. He has the idea that he is going to lose his wife. That's his only solace, is that he can stay with Nora the rest of his life and make sure that she's safe. And he wants to make sure Kunak is is okay, that he's rescued. So you see his humanity come through,
Yes.
and you see more of a theological system come out of that. Is the idea that as someone who be like, when you don't believe in Christ, be like, you're when the world is horrible. Let's say that the world is absolutely horrible, and so you get a lot of people definitely in depression will lock themselves away. Will lock themselves away behind a facade, a mask, or in this case, a suit of armor.
Red goggles.
Red goggles. Yeah, red goggles. Yeah, it is disguised as humanity.
Yes.
Because you can't see anything, because he's he's solid eyes.
That's the thing. When he's wearing the red goggles, he's in this full Mr. Freeze mode because you can't see his eyes. So it comes off as this. I mean, let's face it. That look of the two red eyes glowing kind of in the darkness is kind of a scary look to it.
Oh yeah,
nice. But
nice contrast.
Nice contrast. But it's when he has to remove those goggles for one reason or another.
Yes.
That really the Freeze persona comes away, and you see the hurt man on the inside.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, while he's not in a good place, in any way, shape, or form, and yeah, this is definitely not a healthy way to deal with the love you feel at the continued loss of a loved one, even though there is hope that he may be able to save her at a later date if he can just keep her cryogenically frozen long enough
and find a cure for it.
Find a cure. There is you can see that he has good intentions. Of course, while this isn't a theological doctrine, we do know that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
True.
And while he is willing to sacrifice
the
world to save the love of his life, that's going to make him more of a monster than if he kind of just let her go.
Yeah. But it's the idea that he can't let her go.
Right.
And so he's willing to sacrifice everything in order to do that.
You realize there's a previous movie that actually gives a good warning for this movie that we've reviewed.
What would that be?
But came out after this movie.
Really?
Yes.
What's that?
Beware the Frozen Heart.
Oh, Frozen. Makes sense.
Maybe that wouldn't go over well. But if he was living with Elsa, it would be a lot. If he was in love with Elsa, it would be a lot easier time.
Yeah, that's true. But
anyway,
yeah. Either way, it's just like when you start to see his humanity, the shell has come off of him, and he's the fire is trying to consume him. He's trying to save his wife. He's trying to save Kunek. And you see a lot of his humanity come through that, and you see by the end of the movie, be like, yeah, he is a man who is now in isolation, who's believed to be dead,
right?
But now he is this.
His wife is saved.
His life is saved.
Now he has to pay for what he did to make sure she was able to be saved. He's now paying for the sins that he felt he was forced to commit, because as far as I can tell, he doesn't think he can ever go back.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's technically true. I mean, not counting the fact that he does come back. But I mean, I don't know. It does seem more like it's more like he doesn't feel like he could face Nora in his current condition now that she's safe.
Yeah.
Despite the fact I'm fairly certain Bruce Wayne would have informed her of what her husband did in an attempt to save her. Which I'll get into more of that in my dislikes.
Gotcha.
I'll admit my review is mostly focused on this third movie. Includes some thoughts about the first two episodes I saw.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's my third like.
My third like is that it's not a happy ending. Yeah. This is a love story. Do not get me wrong.
It is.
But this is an unrequited love story. I mean, as much as it's him doing the best he can to save the love of his life.
Exactly.
Ultimately, he's going to have to continue to remain separated from her, whether it's because of his own fears, because if he returns to Gotham City, he will have be arrested and thrown in jail again, or any number of reasons. He can't return to Gotham City.
Right.
And there's no reason he can expect her, even if she knew he was alive, to come back to the Arctic with him.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason he would ever feel the need to impose that on her, because he wants to see her happy.
Yeah.
He'd rather her be happy without him than to be with him and be unhappy.
True.
Which, that is love in many ways. But he also doesn't give her a chance to even know he's alive.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's one of the things that does irk me about knowing that there's an episode after this where he does come back to Gotham City and for some reason is destroying everything people love for no good reason. It's literally the reason he says in what I watched before I turned it off.
Yeah.
Granted, there's still 15 minutes of that episode left to watch, and a lot can change in 15 minutes.
Agreed.
Especially on a show like this. So, and especially since I think I heard that Nora is in that episode and she does have a speaking line.
I can't remember.
But I can't remember. I don't know. I just remember looking it up because I was curious if she ever popped up again. Because I thought it was interesting. We went 3 whole episodes, or 2 episodes and a movie, and not even in a flashback scene did we ever get to hear Nora speak or actually move outside of that cryogenic tube. Despite the fact in Barbara Gordon says, yeah, I know who you are, and I know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows who she is because we know who you are. And that's the other thing, is that Nora's going to have to live with the ghost of Mr. Freeze over her life, the rest of her life, because everyone knows who Nora Freeze is because of her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And all the terrors and horrors that he caused in those 2 episodes, and probably some more in the background that he just didn't get caught on. And then to see him come back maybe later on in that Cold Comfort episode to just like, oh yeah, I'm going to destroy this giant dinosaur skeleton for no reason other than because I can.
Yeah, just for information, I just looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
This is on Batman the Animated Series .fathom.com.
Yes.
Nora Freeze only appears in 2 episodes. She only appears in 2 episodes in 1 film. She does not appear in Batman the New Adventures of Batman.
Okay, but she wasn't even in the first episode because all we saw was the ballerina thing.
Right.
And that's 1 episode in 1 movie, unless the second one is the other series. And admittedly, when I watched it, it actually had, strangely enough, the Deep Freeze episode had a New Adventures of Batman and Robin opening on it.
Yeah.
Whereas Cold Comfort had the original Batman the Animated Series opening on it, which was weird. But anyway.
Yeah. But it'd be like she appears in 2 episodes and films 1 film, and her last appearance is in Batman and Mr. Freeze Subzero.
Okay. Then that makes that episode pointless. I'm sorry, it does. If they're not going to continue that story even with a new art style, that is the core, at least to me, that is the entire core reason why that version of Mr. Freeze exists, is this story with him and his wife. And he's just going around killing for no good, or not killing, but destroying property for essentially no good reason. What's the point in bringing him back?
True.
Other than just to be cold and emotionless. I mean, it's like, you don't need that, as his story finished in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't claim, as quickly as that episode comes out in the new season, that you didn't know this movie was coming. This movie was finished and sitting on a shelf until they decided they finally got around to releasing it. You knew it existed. You knew it was the end of the story, and you just completely ignored it to do whatever you wanted to do with this other thing. That's poor continuity and poor writing, in my opinion. But anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. The fact that it's assuming that the Batman animated series has a different continuity than the rest of it now, because I kind of feel like I need to say that. Like I said, if this was the final episode of Batman the animated series, which in many ways I feel it is, and this was the final story with Mr. Freeze, I feel like you could end it here, and I wouldn't necessarily be happy because it does have a very sad and almost a very depressing ending.
Indeed.
But I feel like it is the natural place where this could go, and it's the happiest ending that is possible without feeling forced.
I gotcha.
That's the best way I know how to put that.
Interesting.
Because your only other choice is what? Kill Mr. Freeze and bury him?
That's true.
And then show have the last scene, you actually see Nora crying over her husband's semi-frozen grave, because I'm sure he's still a popsicle in the bottom of that 6-foot hole.
Right.
I don't know. I'm guessing here. That's an even sadder ending than what we got.
Very true.
So yeah, I mean, this is the happiest ending you could have gotten with this, and I'm kind of, in a way, happy this is how it ended.
Yeah.
Even though it's a very sad ending. So yeah, that's
Very
my
true.
third like.
All right. So going into our dislikes.
Yes.
All right.
First dislikes.
My first dislike. Now I'm gonna flip this because the way I wrote it, so I'm just gonna flip it. So my first. All right. So there's a lot of just convenient things just pop up in this film that's like, oh, because Nora Freeze's blood type is AB positive.
It's the most rare blood type in existence.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that both Barbara and Nora have this.
Yeah, and they're the exact same weight and the exact same height.
Yeah. So you're saying Nora Freeze could have been Batgirl?
Maybe.
Okay.
No, there's
I'm agreeing with you. It's like, this is very convenient.
Yeah, there's just so much convenience that it's like, oh, because it's Barbara Gordon, so she's Commissioner Gordon's daughter, and also she's Batgirl,
yes.
Who also is dating
Robin,
and who also is Batgirl. So also you would get the Dark Knight, you get Batman involved with this. So the plot convenience is so just there. Be like, it's a little contrived, but be like, it's one of those nitpicks. I'm like, really? That's how you tie everything together? Yeah. Is that, oh, they fit to a T. They could be siblings. Not really, but seriously, it's just it's so just convenient. And it's like, oh, they're the exact same height, exact same weight, they have the exact same blood type, and AB positive. Be like, yeah, it's rare, but it's not that rare.
Apparently it is in Gotham City.
Apparently.
There was 7 people on that list?
17 at least.
Yeah, and we only know one of them was correct. Admittedly, you could have had someone with AB positive. I think it was positive. I don't remember what.
Yeah, it was AB positive.
I know it was AB. I just didn't remember if it was positive or negative. But, I mean, you could have had maybe somebody else, but Gotham City is still essentially supposed to be New York City.
Yeah.
You're telling me nobody else in New York?
Yeah, that's exactly
the same build and height and blood type. Nobody.
Yeah, just.
I mean, granted, but here's the thing: Barbara Gordon is in college.
Yeah, she's 20.
She's 20. Okay. Nora, when she was cryogenically frozen, had to have been like late 20s, maybe early 30s.
Possibly.
Because of the age that Victor looks like because he's cryogenically frozen too, essentially. He's not aging either. And he looks like he's older than Batman.
Yeah.
And Batman is very obviously late 20s. He's got to be old enough to be where Batgirl still looks like a immature form of a Bat person. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, technically Batman in the series, he's in his far as I understand, he's in his his mid 30s. Batman is.
Okay.
Or early 30s.
Still, Mr. Freeze looks older than him.
Yeah.
And admittedly, that a lot of that is art style and the fact that, he's so frozen, he's bald now.
Yeah.
So, and bald does always make you look older. So, and maybe blue skin makes you look older too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at best, she's like late 20s, early 30s, like I said.
Yeah.
Which would fit with what we were saying about Mr. Freeze.
Exactly.
That makes those organs that he's willing to transplant into her 10 years younger. that's not going to factor into it either. I mean, I know it doesn't normally. I'm not a medical person. I know the age of the person doesn't normally fit into whether the organs fit, but at the same time, I didn't think the height of a person affected that either. Especially when you have to consider that, and admittedly, they would not know that Barbara Gordon was this well trained and well and as fit as she was, because she had to be able to be Batgirl. They're probably a lot more built up and better suited for stuff than maybe Nora's was. You're right; it's very convenient.
Yes, it is.
Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent because we're still on your.
Yes, yeah. So a lot of when we do like a Batman movie from the DCAU, a lot of times I go to and you go check them out there on YouTube. Watchtower database. Be like, they do all kinds of timelines. So if you're interested in stuff, go check them out. Big shout out to them. They're really good about this stuff, and a lot of the information I learned is from them. So go check them out. So this plot convenience could have been very well solved with, they could have picked just another girl that would have been, it would have been more, be like, okay, we've got to rescue her or something like that, and then somehow be like, you can involve Batgirl, you can involve, but at the same time be like, it's such a convenient plot device that it's Barbara Gordon.
I have a better plot device.
Okay,
for you.
all right, shoot.
Instead of Barbara Gordon being the one with the right blood type and the right organs and all that stuff,
yeah,
what if it was her roommate?
It could have been,
and neither Belson nor Mr. Freeze knew that. They'd never seen Barbara Gordon. There may not have been a picture.
They made a something shot.
They said, "Are you so and so?" I can't remember who they said that girl's name was. And they realized, this is Mr. Freeze. I'm Batgirl. I need to be able to stop him.
Yeah.
So she takes his place. That is a lot more believable than we must conveniently kidnap Barbara Gordon, who we don't know is Batgirl.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the equivalent of, in Batman 66, the movie, them kidnapping Bruce Wayne to lure Batman into a trap.
Yeah.
In that movie, it was funny.
Yeah.
In this, it's ill-conceived.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's a little too convenient.
Yeah. I do like that idea. I do like the idea that they could have mistakenly kidnapped the roommate, and so that involves, Barbara would have gotten involved. And
or
so
kidnap Barbara because the roommate happened to match Nora's credentials.
Yeah. Possibly. Something like that. So either or.
Yeah.
So it's just that very just plot convenience. Oh yeah, it's Barbara Gordon. She fits everything to a T, and Barbara just connects with everybody. Be like, instead, you could have gone with the roommate. You could have gone with another girl that was roughly has the same blood type. And AB positive is not that, it's rare, but it's not that rare.
Heck, you could use the same character concept art you used for Nora, change the hairstyle, and you're golden.
Pretty much.
You don't even have to do that much extra work, and just have Barbara happen to want to go after her and save her.
Yeah.
Or maybe get kidnapped instead of her. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way. Yeah. So that's my first dislike. What's yours?
Okay. So I'm not sure timetable wise how long between Deep Freeze and this movie is. But we do know it has to be long enough that they can go from essentially somewhere around Long Island Sound to the Arctic. And without even conceivably, as far as I could tell from that, a boat to get them there. I assume maybe he stole a boat at some point. But still, that is an awful long way for Nora Freeze's cryotube to be disconnected from electricity, especially since they don't hook it up to electricity when they get to the Arctic or a generator of any kind. The entire time they are dependent on whatever the cryochemicals in the cryotube are, plus the outside temperature to keep her that cold. And if it is keeping her, I know cryogenic would be even farther below zero than even Mr. Freeze is kept at. most of the time because he can't go above absolute zero,
Yeah.
0 degrees Celsius. Um, they she's what she stays fine up until her cryotube gets smashed,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mr. Freeze is able to get her all the way back to Gotham.
Yeah.
Same distance with a broken cryotube.
Yeah.
If not just leaving the cryotube behind.
Did they have a spare one?
Did they freeze her in a block of ice with his gun?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of that they could have done to keep her frozen.
Right.
Or to keep her hopefully at that temperature, which there's no guarantee that even his freeze gun would keep it at the right temperature since it doesn't appear to get cold enough to kill the submarine crew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
More on that in a minute.
Right.
But because it just seems to freeze them and then their eyes blink. It's like that's a scary thought, all things considered.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, admittedly, they do take the submarine back, probably.
Possibly.
But
it was frozen already.
It was frozen. Well, yeah, it was frozen already, so they couldn't have taken that back.
Yeah.
How did they keep her cold enough that they even could, not just to get her to the Arctic, but to also get her back to Gotham City to freeze her in the old derrick?
Yeah.
And how much did Mr. Freeze have to keep freezing that room that she was in to keep her cold enough to keep her cryogenically frozen?
True.
Because bear in mind, cryogenically means so frozen that the life processes stop, but once melted, they can restart again.
Mm-hmm.
Which, admittedly, is still theory even today, I believe. If that's even possible.
Frozen theory.
It's a crackpot theory, I suspect. But it is a thing that people have been trying to work on for so many times. Like we said earlier, there is a rumor that Walt Disney's head is frozen cryogenically somewhere in the utilidors underneath Walt Disney World. It's a story, I guarantee you, but it has persisted. So my question is, under all of the hats, how did they keep Nora Freeze cryogenically frozen half the time without power and the other time outside of her chemical bath?
Okay,
that's my question.
Okay, so two points I want to get there is one, you keep mentioning Walt Disney's head. So
I know he's not actually frozen.
I know. Just the point. Just the point I'm trying to get. All right. So you mentioned his head.
Yeah.
So
it's always his head. It's never his whole body.
Yes. So what I'm going to is whenever you get finished with that episode from the New Adventures of Batman,
I know in Batman Beyond, it is just Mr. Freeze's head.
Exactly.
In
Okay.
fact, I think what I understood from what I read, it's actually only Mr. Freeze's head in that episode that's been attached to a robot body.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So
yeah, it's weird.
Yes,
it's weird. Also, be like you did mention a timeline. You know what the timeline is?
I have no idea what the time.
Okay, so
is between the episode and the movie.
Yeah. So we get,
and it really does make a difference here because it depends on how long they were up there in the Arctic before the submarine showed up.
Okay, so there is a video that Watchtower Database did do, because these guys do timeline stuff like crazy.
Right.
So they do one over Mr. Freeze and his timeline. So they do go over this time period between the episode and this movie. So if you want to know more about that, go check them out. Yeah.
It's always lead up and you can't give me an answer. No, it's fine. I'm just giving you a hard time, dude. Don't go looking it up now. Just go ahead and tell me what your second dislike of this movie is.
My second dislike of this film, there again, there's some really good CG in this movie, and then there's some not so good CG. Let's say more when they try to animate the actual characters. Oh my!
Going to mention that.
Yes, I definitely want to mention that. So the points where you do see not a traditionally drawn character, but where they completely CG'd a character it looks be like Alfred when the Batwing's taking off. It's literally they literally just move him back. It's a rigid framework. It's so rigid it's not even funny. It's like he's frozen solid. Go ahead.
Not
Go
to
ahead.
tell you you're wrong.
Go ahead.
But I think that is technically still a 2D cell in front of that 3D thing. It's just the compositing is really bad.
Yeah, the compositing is really bad.
Yeah.
Because there's a point where Alfred, he's walking up to the Batwing, and obviously everything around it's CG.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this, like, when they're doing character models, they're very stiff, like extremely stiff. Now, granted, it could be the compositing, it could be a bunch of other stuff with that, but I just wanted to bring that up because there's just the when it comes to character CG modeling, and granted, it could be they're simply using models, but it's how it's rendered. I don't know how it is, but it just looks not good.
Well, the only reason I'm even pointing that out is because I want to say that the only character who is actually have any computer generated stuff is Freeze.
Yeah,
because for the most part, you can do his body. His body can have robotic movements, and it's not out of the motif.
Right.
Whereas anyone else needs to move like a human being.
Yeah. And they don't.
And sometimes they don't. That's why I'm saying I'm thinking it's probably more of they use a 2D cell, maybe not freshly drawn 2D cell, maybe
possibly
something from somewhere else.
Possibly.
And they are compositing that in the spot into the CG animation.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I agree with you. I'm just trying to be more clear about what's actually
going
on, because I don't think they actually used 3D on any of the characters, Mr. Freeze included, but the only one it would have worked on was Freeze.
Right. Yeah. Either or. So that was just more there again when they're using characters in a CG scene. Now, granted, the scene where Robin is jumping onto the Batwing to get into the cockpit, that's very well done. But when you have like a static shot of like Alfred coming up to the Batwing, or the Batwing is leaving, you have this very like rigid character.
Static Shock wasn't in this movie. He comes later in the DCAU.
Very, very true.
I'm being facetious, dude.
You think?
Okay. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was interesting. So yeah, the CG, the character CG was a little rigid. I'd say that. Either or.
Gotcha. So my second dislike, Barbara Gordon, I think forgets she's Batgirl about most of the time when she's fighting in this movie.
Okay.
I mean, when she's Batgirl at the beginning, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very, she's fighting just like she's supposed to.
Right.
And I can kind of forgive it perhaps when she gets kidnapped there in the restaurant, because she can't fight amazingly without maybe revealing that there's more to her than just being, the commissioner's daughter.
Right.
However, there's a plenty of she could have gotten away from that old Derek really, really, really easily based on who Batgirl, based on her. She gets a little too just woman in distress. Damsel in distress ish.
Possibly, yeah.
At certain points in this movie where I'm sitting there going, you are stinking Batgirl. You can escape this situation easily.
Yeah.
Because if Batman and Robin can do it, guess what? You can do it too.
Right.
You could have, I'm not saying she could have swam to shore, but we know there was a boat because Goober dies in it later on.
Right.
Also, why does Goober go underneath the burning old Derek instead of away at the end of the film?
Who knows?
I'm sorry, that's beside the point.
Right.
But she could have gotten away from that about halfway through it to come back with Batman and Robin to stop Mr. Freeze from doing his thing.
Right.
As Batgirl. But no, she, for unknown reasons, I'm not saying she could have beat the polar bears. 'cause I think that's hard enough for even Batman to do.
Right.
But I think she could have put up a much better fight
Possibly.
than she puts up in this movie because she's freaking Batgirl.
I agree. But I want to bring a counter to that.
Okay.
Okay. So we do see where Batgirl, she can handle herself very well
Yes.
throughout the course of this film. I mean, like at points be like she escapes twice, but she's
Yes.
ultimately captured by the end of it. But at the exact same time, we find that she's be like she could probably, kick, whatever his face is. But the only problem is it's Freeze is a problem.
Yes, but Freeze does not appear to be able to run. All she can.
Right.
And the only other henchman he's got on that entire old Eric, and by the way, I'm not counting the polar bears in this because they're not henchmen, they're pets.
Right.
Is Belson.
Yeah.
Belson is a fat tub of lard.
I agree with you.
He never should have been able to catch up with her, even if she wasn't Batgirl.
That is true. That is so true.
If she was able to get out of that old Eric onto the platform and get to the edge to find out she's in the middle of the ocean, he shouldn't have been right behind her. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Bill, I do agree. It's kind of convenient that Batgirl, she can't be like, she does her best to try to escape it all when she can't. But I do agree, be like, she is Batgirl. She's been known to do these things to escape, but it does seem a little damsel in distress, but she can handle herself.
Granted, the story kind of needs her to be a damsel in distress to some degree.
Right.
But at the same time, a part of me wonders, with a little bit better writing, could you have had her be a bit more butt kickery?
Oh, I agree.
Have her be more of the Batgirl I remember.
Right.
Now, granted, it's been a long time since I've seen her in Batman the Animated Series. Perhaps this really is about where she is at this point in time.
Who knows?
I don't know, because literally the only other time I've seen this version of the character was in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
Right.
Which is 5 years after this, when those, or was it 10 years after this when those events occur? In the flashback.
In a distant future, as they've said.
I know it's at least 70 years because Batman's still alive. Bruce Wayne's still alive.
It's like 20.
And Barbara Gordon is still alive.
It's like 20. Yeah, it's like I don't remember, so I'm not going to try to.
But I'm mostly talking about the flashback when they capture Goober Boy,
Goober
Robin.
Boy.
That Robin. It's not Dick Grayson. It's the other Robin. Todd.
No, it's not Todd.
It's not Todd. It's the other one.
It's oh wow.
Good night. It's Red Robin. Yum. It's the one that turns into Red Robin in the comics.
Right.
Because not Todd.
Tim Drake.
Yeah. Tim. When they're doing that, Batgirl is in that flashback.
Yes.
And she's a lot. Admittedly, it's what, at least 5 years after this.
Yes.
At least I'm estimating.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she's had more training and more workout and a lot more experience by this point.
A lot more employed too.
Yeah. But she's also a lot more of a she's that's the only other version of this character I've seen, so maybe I'm thinking too far ahead.
Maybe.
And maybe she's still more of she's not obviously an amateur, but she's kind of where Robin was when Robin first joined the team. Maybe. I don't really remember. So I just want her. A part of me, I think, just wanted her to be more butt kickery.
I completely agree. And you do bring up some good points. That it does kind of give that air that she needs to be. That she does need to be rescued. Plus, she's on an old Derek.
If we're
middle of nowhere.
If we are talking about other versions of Batgirl that are in movies that include Mr. Freeze, I think Alicia Silverstone actually kicked more butt than she did.
That is true. Well, granted, be like Barbara in this movie, she did hold her own in a lot of scenes.
It's just there's a lot of times where the story forced her not to be the Batgirl we saw in those first couple shots.
Exactly.
And forced her to be the damsel in distress, and I can't figure out why that was good for her character.
Yeah.
Admittedly, like I said, I can see it in the restaurant when she gets captured because if she shows her abilities too much there, it would reveal, it has the possibility of revealing her secret identity.
Right.
It's the same reason why Dick Grayson could not act better than that in that scene also. This is all theory. I am guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, what number are we on? 3?
3.
Third dislike, sir.
Third dislike. Okay, so our finale of the film takes place on an oil derrick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great scene. An abandoned oil derrick. Let me keep that in mind. It's an abandoned oil derrick.
Which
So
is a lot more understandable than half the other abandoned warehouses probably in that series.
That is true. So
because that is something the Batman the Animated Series suffers from that you can definitely trace back to the 60s is the amount of abandoned buildings.
Yeah, it's Gothic noir.
Yeah.
So, and then be like, oh gosh, Barbara Gordon is trying to escape. She's trying to escape Goober Face with a gun. I'm like, Mr. Goober Face Belson, who's in deeper debt than his he's swimming the eyeball with fishes with this one.
That's why you don't play the stock market like that unless you know you can win.
That is true.
What do I know? I'm just a guy in a dumpy apartment.
So my point is, be like, again, this is an abandoned oil derrick. So why is there crude oil on an abandoned oil derrick? When he shoots it, it hits oil. And even Barbara says, be like, stop shooting you. There's oil up here.
That is a good question because they should have capped it off when they left.
Exactly. Or at least transported it off, quote unquote, this abandoned oil derrick. Even Batman says it's an abandoned oil derrick.
That is an EPA disaster waiting to happen.
Exactly.
Now, admittedly, we're in a post-BP oil spill world.
Right.
So we know this. But it's kind of interesting. It's like, why would this even be at this point active? Because that looks like if any of those valves ever failed, due to saltwater corrosion, due to properly not being maintained, you'd have a lot of trouble on your hands.
Agreed.
It should not. Should not be any oil up there unless I would forgive this.
Yeah.
If it wasn't an abandoned old derrick. If it was a old derrick that was just out there in the bay,
yeah,
where they say it is, and the crew of the old derrick is disappeared.
Yeah,
and communication's been cut off, and no one's been able to get out there to find out what's happening yet.
Yeah,
that I would accept more.
Yeah,
but then an abandoned oil derrick that happens to still be connected to the oil field that it's sitting on,
or the more fact, maybe it's not connected, but it's still storing the oil, which makes no sense for an abandoned oil derrick.
No, they would have gotten all the oil off of there so they could at least process it, even if they were abandoning the old derrick.
Yeah.
But there's still tons of oil on that old derrick still.
So apparently in the DCAU, the Batman series, or the universe, apparently the company, whoever owns it, I know it's not Bruce Wayne, I know that.
Oh, no. I saw it.
It
had a name on it. It was like
Oilco.
It was like Oilco or something.
Yeah, Oilco or something like that.
Something very generic.
Very generic. So apparently Oilco is now, $1 million in debt because they, neglected and abandoned oil derrick.
Oh, the EPA is going to have a field day with them.
Where's this episode?
Hey, Oilco, what? This is the EPA. What's this we hear about a abandoned oil derrick exploding in flames when Mr. Freeze was on it? And if the Iceman can't keep the oil derrick from exploding, how bad a shape did you leave it in?
Because the Iceman cometh.
Okay, we're moving into my third dislike because it's going to deal with that. Because here's my biggest problem with this.
Okay.
With this old derrick.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Freeze is on it.
Yeah.
He has an ice gun.
Yes.
That can freeze things.
Yes.
And he does it a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
Why does he not shoot any of the stupid fire in this? I don't care how hot it's going. He's got unlimited ice gun power shots, probably. He could probably freeze this fire and let it, even if it melts, it's still going to extinguish the fire. It's not going to immediately vaporize the water.
Good point. Very good
That
point.
is something that annoys me tremendously about the ending of this movie. Is Mr. Freeze could have not only saved himself, but everyone else, even Goober Boy, whose name I can't think of now that you called him Goober Boy, the guy who's in debt up to his eyeballs.
Yeah.
I never want to say Benson. That is not his name.
No, it's not.
But it could have even saved him because he wouldn't have been. The thing probably wouldn't have fallen off and hit his boat. That when he went drove underneath the flaming oil derrick to escape. This guy was an idiot. I'm sorry. I don't care if the fastest way back to dry land was to go under the oil derrick. You go around the burning oil derrick to get home. It's just common sense.
I totally get your point. I totally get your point. The fact
sticks, follow them, think them through.
Well,
I don't care that this is more dramatic.
Well, Mr. Freeze does use his gun to stop the flames, but he doesn't use it to like stop it initially. So it sounds like it's a plot device.
It is a plot device. It's a poorly made plot device.
Yes, I agree.
He could have kept the whole thing from going if he'd have just shot his ice beam at the first thing, that first bit of flames that popped out around Barbara Gordon, the woman he wants to keep alive temporarily so he can illegally transplant her organs against her permission into his wife. He should be, at that point, I don't care how angry he is at her, he should be really more concerned about her not blowing up.
That's true.
Especially since if she blows up, his wife's probably going to blow up too because she's down in the middle of that old derrick. And there's a part of me that when they get ready to come back up and they say, and they can't go up the stairs. I don't remember why.
Oh my gosh. The
it's
elevator.
like, oh, we can take the elevator. Thinking,
what?
That goes against everything I've ever read in an elevator. You do not use an elevator in the event of an emergency.
Because be like for me, it was like, okay, so it is set up in the movie that the order does have an elevator and it is used. Yes. But Barbara Gordon's the one be like, oh, let's use the elevator. I'm like, Barbara, seriously?
You're in college.
She's a very intelligent girl. Why I understand plot convenience. I get it. But at the same time,
I know Batman Beyond was probably in production at this point. This was made.
Yeah. So
we know she was going to survive.
Right.
Because she's the police commissioner in Batman Beyond. And she's dumb enough, as someone who's going to be police commissioner, she's dumb enough to take the elevator in the event of an emergency.
But I think convenience-wise,
guess what? The elevator sticks.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
What are you people doing?
The only explanation, the only solid explanation I can give that is because it gives Victor Freeze another moment to show his humanity where he can save Batman, save Barbara and everybody else, to show that, be like, oh, he's actually a good guy.
I agree.
But at the same time, it's such a just like, what the fudge?
Do not get me wrong. I think this is a very good movie.
Yeah, indeed.
It's just there's parts of this I go, y'all needed another writer to take a pass at this and point out all the logistical hiccups, because I think y'all stared at the script too long and you already had that sunk cost problem. You need someone to go over and say, hey, here's an idea. Don't destroy the stairs. Destroy the elevator so they have to take the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
That would make more sense. But anyway,
all right, that
brings us to the end. I think of our dislikes.
Yeah, I finished my third. Okay, good.
So, we need to go ahead and rate this thing. What are you giving it?
Even though, be like, there are so many, just coincidental little things here and there that kind of hamper the story in so many ways. I still love this film to death. It's so good. It has you have this very bright light on Mr. Freeze and his story and the development of his story even more. Even though some people said, well, there's no arcs in here. There's arcs. There's very good arcs. And the plot convenience in this movie is just layered on thick. And it's a movie about conveniences. That's all it is. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I'm giving it an 8. It's a great film. Definitely go watch it. Go watch it at HBO Max. Go buy it somewhere. Buy it with Mask of the Phantasm, which is another good film we reviewed. So go check that one out. So yes, 8.
I am giving it a 7.5.
Okay.
It's still a very good film.
Yeah.
I just wish it was a little bit better thought out. But for the most part, it's a good ending for this trilogy of stories, starting with Heart of Ice and then Deep Freeze. I keep wanting to go straight to Cold Comfort because in my mind, that's the next one. But anyway.
Next series.
Yeah, it's the next one. It's the one after this.
All right.
But yeah. You would think Deep Freeze would come after Subzero is what goes through my mind.
Right.
But anyway, I'm giving it 7.5 because it is a good ending for this arc of stories.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's a very good movie. I've got issues with how it maybe treats Barbara, and there's some logistical errors, I think, that are just not as well thought out. But for the most part, it's still fun, good Batman story. Good. And I enjoy it. So yeah, 7.5.
All right.
Which brings us to the end of another episode.
Exactly.
Next week, we will be reviewing Lupin the Third, the First, which is an odd title until you understand that this is, I think, supposed to be Lupin the Third's origin story.
Yeah, this was the 2019 movie that came out.
Yes. So, my question to you is, Arsène Lupin III's who is Arsène Lupin III's grandfather's nemesis from his first story?
Oh, that's a deep dive.
Not really.
Really?
If you do any amount of research, you can figure out what I'm actually asking you.
Okay. So is that our trivia?
That is our trivia.
Excellent.
Who was Lupin III's grandfather's first enemy?
All right.
His book. That's really what I'm asking. First enemy in his book. Who was he initially going up against?
Okay.
I'll tell you after because you're going to find it hilarious.
Okay.
Anyway, that brings us to the end of this episode. I never said this movie. This is not a movie. But yeah, this episode. Join us next time for that. If you are a patron, check your messages on Patreon to get a link for something we're doing this Thursday with Monster Island Film Vault, because he's graciously allowing our patrons to also join in with his patrons for a patron-only live stream recording of the episode.
Really?
That is what's going on there.
Awesome.
So
go check that out, guys.
Yeah, if you're one of our patrons, I put the link in there. We're going live Thursday at 8. So join us then for that. Plus next week, Lupin the First.
All right.
And other than that, I think this is just, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming. On YouTube at Cellcast. On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
ice chopper.